Welcome back to Plasma Edge build part number 2. Okay, so for step 17, we're going to need these parts right here. Get the shock tower mounted to the back of the vehicle. So the black one goes right in the center there, okay? It's a longer screw than the other ones. Our next step is to go ahead and get the rear uprights put together. Alright, next we're moving on to step 19, which is assembling the rear uprights. The dog bones in. First thing you gotta do is grease everything up. So drop the O-rings in those. Those put in the back of the transmission. All right, go ahead and get that back hub put on, the right one. Get that back one, you got to make sure that they're the right way, that you've got it right there. Okay, go ahead and get that dog bone in. Okay, get your screw in that one. We'll get that tightened down. So now you can see if you don't have the right hub in there, it won't line up with this upper arm. So make sure you check that. Now we'll go ahead and we'll get the other side done. So let's go ahead and get all the shock parts rounded up, Nathaniel. And here's all the parts you're going to need for step number 20, which is to build the bottom half of the front shocks. Put a little bit of oil on that. Tells you to oil the shaft. Seals in there. Alright, got some oil on that. Pull that through. This tool here, but if you don't have it, you could just use your pliers like it's telling you with a towel or something wrapped around it. We'll go ahead and get these tightened down. we got step 20 done. Now we're going to move on to 21, which is to fill the shocks with oil and put the caps on them. So I gotta imagine this is going to be a messy step. Here's the parts you'll need for step 21. Okay, so to fill these with oil, you need a rag around there. Just keep your fingers clean. Pull that piston all the way down. Go ahead and pick it up. Wrap that around there. Okay, now take your oil. Slowly fill that up. Alright, we're going to go ahead and move the piston up and down real slow just to see if there's any air in there that we can get out. It doesn't look like it. So it's moving freely. So we'll go ahead and we'll put the green cap on there. And then we'll put our shock cap on there. Turn it down pretty tight, but they're just plastic, so be careful. Alright, feels nice. Alright, now we're on step 21, which is going to be finished assembling the shocks and get them mounted to the front suspension. Okay, so here's all the parts for step 22. Let's go ahead and get the shocks together and get them mounted up. Alright, so pick it up, put that spring on there. Alright, we'll get that shock mounted up then. Okay, and then the bottom's got 3 holes there. It tells you to put it on the farthest hole. We'll go ahead and put it on the most inner one. That way we get the highest ride height. This car sits really low to the ground, so might as well have as much height as we can get out of it. Alright, step 23 is basically doing the same thing on the back, and so we'll go ahead and get the rear shocks assembled. So on these shocks, these get a little bushing on each shaft, unlike the other ones. Alright, go ahead and put the O-rings in the bottom of the dampers, 2 of them right on top of each other. Spacer goes on. And now we're on to step 24, which is just to put the oil in the shocks. Alright, now we're on step 25, so that you're going to need your springs. Okay, remember how to do this from before? Go ahead and put your spring on there. Alright, step 26. We'll go ahead and get the rear dampers, the rear shocks put on the car. Here's what you're going to need, your 2 shocks and those parts right there. We'll go ahead and put a little bit of oil on those, or grease. Alright, let's get our damper on. You don't have to get it all the way in yet, but just tighten it so it doesn't fall off. Alright, that's good. Now go ahead and get the bottom one. We'll put it on the innermost hole right there. There you go. That'll give us the most travel. These cars sit really low to the ground, so you can always adjust it if you don't like it that way. So we'll get both of those tightened down and we'll put the other side on and do the same thing. Alright, now we're on to step 27, which is to put the steering linkage on there. There's the parts we're going to need, so we'll go ahead and get the little ball studs on there. Alright, for the ball studs you got to make sure that you're putting them on the steering arms on the right direction there, on the right side. So that actually started pretty easily. Okay, now we got to get that ball end into that tie rod there. Alright, so we got one attached, and they tell you to use needle nose in the instructions, which is not probably, in my opinion, the easiest way to get them on there, so I found a pair of pliers works the best. Alright, put it in there. Alright, I got the right linkage started here. We're going to go ahead and get the other side on there. So the first step is to put this little washer on the below that. Put your linkage on there and then feed your screw. Kind of hard to catch it on the camera, but feed the screw through that and then the arm. It's really hard to capture, it's all black. Get her started. Now we'll screw those down. Okay, so you can see that that's kind of tight, and the instructions say to loosen it just a little bit to where you have enough free play in there to where it moves freely. Okay, and the other one's kind of tight too, so we'll back it off just a hair. Perfect. Okay, the last part of step 27 is to go ahead and attach your tie rods to your ball ends on your steering knuckles. Alright, now we're on to 28, step 28, which is basically to get your servo set up, and that entails getting your receiver hooked up to your speed controller and powering the system up so you can get your servo set to its midpoint, so we can get that installed in the car. Alright, so we're going to have to go outside and change out that connector on the speed controller so that works with our beam connector on our battery. Okay, we got the speed controller all set up. Everything's soldered on there nicely. Time to get the servo out. Go ahead and take that servo horn that it comes with off of there. Alright, just a basic Futaba servo. This one does have ball bearings, but they're plastic gears. Should be fine for this car. Alright, so now we're going to need our receiver. So we got that all unpacked, and we got our transmitter and our receiver here. We got to get this bound to this. Get some batteries put in it. So we're going with just a cheap little Dual RC. I've used this controller in the past and I've had no problems with it, so should be fine for this. Alright, so we got to get everything plugged into our receiver here before we try to bind it so we can get it powered up. Okay, we got that all hooked up. Now we got to put our bind clip in, which is channel 3 on this one, or it actually says bind on there, so we'll put that in there. battery in. Maybe. There we go, nothing smoked, so that's a good sign. Okay, after a few minutes of messing around, we finally got our receiver bound to the transmitter. So we're gonna go ahead and check the servo. It operates, we've got it centered up. We're gonna go ahead and test the throttle. So we'll hook the speed controller up to that just to go ahead and see if it works. That's good enough. And we'll go ahead and give her some throttle and see if it works. Yeah, we got forward and reverse. Looks like it's going the right direction too. That's forward. That's reverse. Alright, let's see if we can get servo in. Alright, so we got this. The servo is all centered. We're going to go ahead and put the servo saver on it. So according to the instructions, you put the servo saver in that position with the servo mounted like that. Put the horn facing up, so go ahead and put that together, Nathaniel. So you want that nope, you want it completely vertical. There you go, just like that. That spacer in there, the little washer. Okay, make your screw. Alright, we're done with step 28. We're going to go ahead and move on to step 29, which is getting everything mounted to the servo. Alright, so we got all our parts laid out for step 29. First thing we got to do is get these little bushings put into the steering rod. Next, we're going to go ahead and get these servo mounts mounted to the servo. Alright, so we've got the one side mounted up. We're going to go ahead and put the other servo mounts on the servo saver. So the curved side, according to the instructions, actually faces the servo. Okay, so the next step is we're going to, nope, not there, we're going to screw this arm to the back side of that servo saver. Alright, next is to go ahead and mount this to this sliding steering bar, whatever they want to call it. So here's the step, here's all the pieces that you'll need for step 30. And step 30 involves putting your servo, mounting that onto the chassis. This foam piece here that we left out earlier, we didn't put that on, but I think I'm going to go ahead and mount that in there. That gets taped, stuck right there, and your servo gets mounted in there. And I think what that foam piece does is it kind of protects your servo saver. It kind of rubs like that on the bottom, keeps that servo saver from getting dirt in it. Be my guess, so we're going to go ahead and mount everything up there. It also has you, step 30 also has you putting this engine, the motor guard on there. I don't think we're going to put that on there. I think we're going to leave that off. I think it's set up if you're running for a brushless motor, or if you want to put a cooling fan on it. We're not going to do that, so I'm just going to leave that part off. Okay, next step is to get the servo mounted onto the chassis. We're going to put these two screws through the chassis, through those two holes there, and then into the servo saver, the servo mounts there. Alright, next step is to get the linkage hooked up to the servo. Okay, everything works good. Got the servo hooked up and everything powered up. Just check it before we move on. Okay, so we're moving on to step 31, which is basically installing all the electronics in the antenna. And it has you putting your receiver in this box, which gets mounted with servo tape right in there. And to me, I think I'm not even going to put that in there. That's so tight. You got to bend these motor wires almost straight over to get it in there. And I'm not too worried about that receiver, so I think I'm not going to put that in there. But I am going to clean the surface of the servo off and the chassis with some alcohol just so the double-sided sticky tape sticks well. Okay, now we got to kind of figure out how we want to put this receiver in here. We're going to have the antenna right there, so we'll probably mount it there, and then we'll probably put something like that. And we'll put this off and on switch. Probably just mount it on the side of the chassis right there. Alright, we're going to go ahead and put the antenna mount in there first. Okay, so we got the antenna fed through there. We're going to go ahead and feed that through, and then we're going to mount the receiver. Hopefully that'll go through the hole. Probably won't pick it up where it will in the video. There we go. It's going through. It's tight though. Alright. Okay, now we'll get our sticky tape and get that tape down. Okay, now we'll carefully put that down straight. That's good. Okay, we got it together. Now we're going to just tidy the wires up. Put the battery in there. Got to actually put the antenna tube on there. We'll probably end up cutting that down anyway once we get the body cut out and painted. Everything's tidied up in there. Hopefully these wires sit down once we get the shell on there. But everything looks good. So next step is 32, to go ahead and get the tires and the wheels mounted. Alright, all 4 tires are done. I can't feel my fingers now, but they're all on there. So we're going to move on to step 33, which is putting the remainder of the bushings in there and getting your 12mm hexes put on your axles. Okay. Put the bushing in there. Now we're going to swap those out with bearings. But for now, we'll just get it together with these. I think I've said that several times. Alright, we got the tires on there. We're ready for step 34, which is the battery tray, the body mounts, and the wing mount. That's for your battery. Okay, so here's a wing mount. It's going to go on the back of the shock tower. There's 2 little notches that go into the notches on the shock tower. Go ahead and put those on there. Okay, we'll get the body mounts put on there. Alright, we'll get the front mount on there. This is the only piece left over from step 34. It actually is going to go on the wing once we get it painted and cut out and everything. So we'll save that for later. But it goes on the wing mount. Okay, so that is the last step, 34, other than 35, is to go ahead and cut the body out and mount it and paint it and everything. So it's getting late, so we won't do that tonight. But I did notice on these body mount posts, the instructions tell you just to put a pin in here, and the body actually just rests on that, which is really going to scratch the body up. So I've got some of these mounts, or these body washers, so I think when we actually get the body painted up, we'll put that on there first, and then the body will go on, and then another pin will go on top of that to hold the body pin, the body on. It'll just be a better setup and won't be quite as hard on the paint that's on the body. So that'll be my plan for those. But yeah, we're done for now until we get the body cut out and painted up.